Daniel Suarez talks about the Trackhouse breakup and says he has nothing to prove by going down to the Xfinity Series. Plus, you thought my power rankings last week were bold? You ain't seen nothing yet. How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric. Welcome to Out of the Groove. Happy Monday, folks. Chicago gave us a ton to talk about this weekend. You can click right up here or click the link down in the description below to check out my full post-race recap. We'll follow up on a couple stories today, but I actually want to begin by following up on the big story from last week, Daniel Suarez and Trackhouse going their separate ways at the end of the 2025 season. Suarez spoke to the media this weekend and explained that while he's had a great few years with Trackhouse, he said that there just wasn't a love there anymore. He made a few very interesting comments. He mentioned that when his current crew chief, Matt Swiderski, joined the team in the offseason, he pointed out a lot of issues with the team that Daniel says he's been pointing out for quite some time. Suarez told reporters, quote, "I've been very vocal that we need to adjust this, we need to adjust that, and I'm not the only one seeing it. More people are seeing it. Not a lot of things happen. Everything happens so slowly. I don't think that's the only reason. I think there are more things, but lately there have been things that have made me feel like I'm just not as important." Not as important. See, this is one reason I actually like Daniel Suarez. He's honest. He's willing to say things publicly that maybe other drivers wouldn't dare to. He's willing to speak his truth. We can judge whether we agree or not. I actually agree with that statement. I mean, no, I don't think Daniel Suarez is as important to Trackhouse today as he was 4 years ago. 4 years ago, he was the only driver on the roster. Obviously, he was the focus. He was number one, top of the totem pole, because he was the whole totem pole. But then they quickly introduced Ross Chastain, and pretty quickly after that, Ross separated himself. Chastain quickly began having more success than Ross Chastain, and shoot, now even Shane Van Gisbergen, in far fewer starts, has more cup wins than Daniel Suarez since joining Trackhouse. So yes, naturally, he's gone from the only guy on the roster to one of four, really, and arguably the least successful of the bunch. So I'm not surprised to hear him say he feels like he's not as important. He's probably not being treated the same way he was 4 years ago. It's unfortunate, but that is the reality of professional sports. It's not like Daniel Suarez didn't have his chances. Again, he was the number one guy first couple of years there, but when Chastain showed up in 2022 and began outrunning him almost every week, won 2 races to Suarez's 1, made a deep playoff run, made it to the championship, or Chastain almost won the title his first year with the team, that was the first signal that, hey, Daniel, got to pick things up a little bit. I don't think Trackhouse gave up on Suarez until very recently, obviously. Like, they made a crew chief swap to try and ignite a spark, and it just hasn't happened. Again, I respect Suarez for being honest with himself, honest with the media, more open than other drivers would choose to be, and I agree. He's probably not the most important guy at Trackhouse anymore, but my point is, he's had his chances. When he was the most important guy at Trackhouse, he didn't quite live up to expectations, or he quickly got outshined by his new teammates. It's professional sports, competitive business. That's going to happen. Now, Suarez also talked about the possibility of him racing in the Xfinity Series next year. He just won that Xfinity race at Mexico City, a one-off with Junior Motorsports. A lot of turnover in Xfinity. Could Daniel pool together some sponsor support and go get a top Xfinity Series ride? I think a lot of fans would love to see that because he would contend right away. Well, it doesn't sound like Daniel is too interested in that idea. He told reporters this weekend, quote, "In my mind, I don't have anything to prove in an Xfinity car. It's an amazing series. I love it, but I want to compete with the best of the best. That's why I wake up every single morning. My goal is to stay with the best of the best in the Cup Series." Yeah, I understand that perspective. I get it. Daniel Suarez has won multiple Xfinity races already. He's won an Xfinity Series championship, for crying out loud. You could say he's graduated from the Xfinity Series. I get it. But there's nothing wrong with going back to school, maybe to pursue your master's. Suarez even admitted this weekend that there will likely be more Cup Series opportunities next summer for 2027. So why not, for next year, go to an Xfinity car. If you can get a competitive seat, go win some races, contend for the championship, maybe put your name in that hat for a 2027 Cup Series ride. Like, that's As a fan, selfishly, that's what I would like to see because Daniel Suarez is a fiery personality, a ton of passion. He would be one of the most talented drivers in the Xfinity Series. I think he'd put on a show. It would be a blast. But everybody is different. It's the age-old debate. Is it better to run 25th in Cup or top 10 in Xfinity? What do sponsors value more? As a driver, what would make you feel more fulfilled? What do fans resonate with? Suarez says that he's already had some conversations about Cup Series opportunities for 2026. I just can't imagine those are competitive seats. Like what seats are even available? Maybe there's a front row seat. I don't know. Noah Gragson, I know some of it's been out of his control. He struggled this year. What's going on with Rick Ware Racing? Could they get their second charter back? How does that lease with Roush work? I mean, maybe there's some drama there. Legacy Motor Club says they want to get a third car on track next year, but that's far from a sure thing. So I just don't see any surefire competitive seat in Cup next year for Daniel Suarez unless there's a buyout impending that I'm not privy to. So while I think Suarez is right, he doesn't really have anything left to prove in the Xfinity Series. As a fan, it would be fun to watch him race in that series, contend for another title, win races regularly, en route perhaps to a 2027 Cup opportunity when silly season is a bit sillier, you know? That's my takeaway. Let me know if you agree or disagree down in the comment section below. I want to touch real quick on the Bubba Wallace, Alex Bowman back and forth from yesterday. Two friendly rivals, let's say. They have a history. They were battling yesterday in the in-season challenge. They were going head-to-head for a spot in the Elite Eight. They're also battling for a playoff spot. Both drivers find themselves in familiar territory right there on the playoff bubble. So it was a heated battle inside the top 10 late at the Chicago street race. Both drivers initiated contact, but Bubba Wallace was especially physical, and it cost him with him spinning out and finishing outside the top 20. Immediately after the race, according to reporters who were there on site, Bubba Wallace and Alex Bowman got out of their cars and went their separate directions. There was no interaction, no confrontation, no conversation. They both did interviews, Bowman to TV, where he said, "Hey, I thought we'd squashed our beef. Maybe I was wrong." Apparently later, Bowman and Bubba did find each other in the garage and more or less cleared the air. Zach Sterniolo, writing for NASCAR.com, quoted Bowman after that interaction. Bowman said, "I wish I would have talked to him before all my interviews because I did all the interviews under the context that he thought I right-reared him and just crashed him. And then I talked to him, and he thought I was crossing him over, and he was clear outside. Spotters can't see over there, and I was just outside of him, and he moved up. I hate to say he did it to himself, but he did it to himself." And that's what he was saying. Like, he thought I was crossing over. So it sounds like after they talked about it, Bowman and Bubba agree it was hard racing deal, no hard feelings. I listened to the Athletics podcast, The Teardown, Gluck and Bianchi, where Jeff Gluck mentioned that a NASCAR official told him that NASCAR may review this incident to see if there was any intention behind the eventual spin. Yeah, at first glance, it kind of looked like maybe Bowman, I guess it wouldn't have been right rearing in this case because they're on a road course, left reared Bubba. It looked potentially like a hook on purpose, but TNT had a really bad camera shot at first glance. On the replay, it looks more clear that Bubba moved up into Bowman's lane, cleared himself. That's what the two drivers seem to agree happened there. So while NASCAR supposedly maybe looking into this as some sort of retaliation, maybe there'll be a fine or a penalty coming later this week, I don't think there should be. I don't think there should be any call there, or it should be a no call. Play on. Sucks for Bubba Wallace. We talked about last night. Bad mistake there considering his point situation, but it was just a racing deal. Two aggressive drivers battling in the in-season tournament, among other things, not giving an inch in the final laps of a Cup Series race. It didn't look like Bowman did anything on purpose to me, so if NASCAR is investigating this, it should be a pretty quick investigation, in my opinion. No call should be the call. The call on the field should stand. Anyway, we'll wrap up with my weekly Out of the Groove power rankings. This is a tough one. You know, we just had a super speedway, Atlanta. Follow that up with an unusual street course. We go to another road course here. A lot of different contenders towards the front. Some of the guys who've been so consistent all year. This track isn't really in their wheelhouse. Expect to see a lot of different names in my top 10 this week. This may be the most unusual power rankings I've done this year, but hopefully we can have some fun with it. Let's see where your favorite driver may or may not have ended up. Spoiler alert, I don't have Christopher Bell or William Byron in my top 10 this week. Not because I don't think they've been top 10 drivers all year. They've both been obviously top 5 drivers overall if we look at the bulk of the season. But William Byron recently has 4 finishes of 27th or worse in 5 races. Team can't get out of their own way all of a sudden. And Christopher Bell has only 1 top 10 finish the past 5 weeks. Bell has not been much better, was kind of a non-factor at Chicago, which surprised me. Both these guys likely going to make deep playoff runs. Bell obviously has 3 wins, 4 if you include the All-Star race, but for this weird stretch of races, it's not gone well for Byron and Bell. So this week, they're off the power rankings. Had to make room for some of these different names that have shown up the past couple weeks, like Shane Van Gisbergen. I don't know where to rank Shane Van Gisbergen because at road courses, he's obviously number 1, obviously. But everywhere else, he's like 25th. So, I mean, you kind of average that out. He's around 10th. I'll put him at 10th this week. 2 road course wins in the last month. Could very well get his 3rd this coming weekend at Sonoma. I had to include him on here somewhere, even though we know as soon as we go back to some traditional ovals, he's likely going to be a non-factor. But for this week, Shane Van Gisbergen cracks the power rankings for the first time this year. Alex Bowman is back in the top 10 this week. He's not as good of a road racer as SVG, just want to make that clear, but he's been more consistent overall at the ovals and other tracks the past few weeks. In fact, Alex Bowman now, I believe, has 4 straight finishes of 11th or better, held his ground against Bubba Wallace to finish 8th at Chicago, back inside the top 10 in the regular season points, back inside the top 10 of my power rankings. Up to number 8 this week, though, maybe a surprise to some, I've got Ryan Preece. Saw a graphic from NASCAR Insights this morning that Ryan Preece has the most top 10s in the sport the past 9 weeks. We looked at the bubble last night. Preece is inching closer and closer to that cut line. I didn't think of him as a great road racer, but he qualified amazing at Mexico, ran top 10 at Chicago. Ryan Preece, sporty little road course racer. Who knows what he could do at Sonoma? All of RFK Racing seems to be finding more and more speed the past few weeks. Give me Ryan Preece in the 8th spot. At number 7, Ryan Blaney. Solid, respectable 12th place result at Chicago. Remember, he chose not to flip stage 2. He took the free stage point, or I'm sorry, the free playoff point, the free stage win. So a productive day at Chicago for Blaney. He's not a great road racer, but his road racing numbers, especially at Sonoma coming up this weekend, aren't terrible, aren't bad. So I got Ryan Blaney still holding strong in the 7th spot. And I still have Kyle Larson 6th. Considering Larson had to start yesterday's race at the rear, was in the Hornets' nest most of the day, he finished 13th. That's not bad. But still, since the Coke 600 over a month ago, Larson has not led a single lap. He's still getting some top 10s, top 15s like this weekend, but does not look dominant like he did to begin the year. He's great at Sonoma though. Head back to his home state of California where he won last year, has 5 career pole awards. Some of those came with Ganassi. Larson really good at Sonoma. Look for him to make some noise this coming Sunday. My top 5. Hey, what do you know? Tyler Reddick and team finally put together a full race. I know that's a pretty big jump, 10th to 5th in 1 week, but partially that's because we go to another road course this weekend, and based on the speed Reddick showed Sunday, that off weekend in Mexico a few times ago was clearly a fluke. Reddick has had pretty good speed all year long. Just unlike last year, they haven't been able to close out these races. They finally did at Chicago, top 5 result. They get a caution there for Cody Ware. He might win that race. Had fresher tires than SVG. I've got Reddick at 5. He's also back to 5th in the regular season standings, fun fact. At number 4, y'all called me crazy for including him last week, but Ty Gibbs proved me right. Runner-up finish for the young Joe Gibbs Racing driver. Led 27 laps at Mexico, finished 2nd at Chicago. He could be a contender at Sonoma this weekend. That's now 5 straight finishes of 14th place or better for young Ty Gibbs. He's got Chris Gabehart in his ear. That whole team seems to have more confidence suddenly, a little more speed. I like Ty Gibbs to make some noise in wine country. Give me Chris Buescher at number 3. He had 4 top 10s in a row heading into Chicago, and then at Chicago, qualified great as we expected, quickly drove up to 5th as we all expected, and then he got bit by the mechanical bug early. Fluky deal that took him out of consideration, knocked him off the lead lap. He still rallied, despite not being at 100%, to finish 18th. not bad, all things considered. And now we go to Sonoma, where he finished top 5 1 year ago. Again, Roush has more speed the last few weeks. Buescher is a great road course racer. Chicago, unlucky, missed opportunity. Hopefully they bounce back in a big way at Sonoma. I believe in them. That's why I still have Buescher in the 3 spot. Top 2. These are 2 guys that have been pretty good, pretty consistent all year. Beginning with Denny Hamlin. It's remarkable how good the 11 car is this year. New crew chief, terrible road course numbers the past few years. That blown motor in practice this weekend should have been a death sentence, should have doomed the entire weekend, but it didn't. Started at the rear, stayed out of trouble. Hamlin drove a great race, Chris Gale called a great race, and suddenly Denny is finishing 4th. 4th place finish at Chicago for Denny Hamlin. What a resilient weekend by this race team. Hamlin's had some good results at Sonoma in the past. It's one of his better road course races historically, I would say. Give me Denny Hamlin at 2. Very impressed with what this team did at Chicago yesterday. But at number 1, holding on to that spot for 2 weeks in a row now, is Chase Elliott. He got front end damage almost immediately at Chicago, but still grinded to a 16th place finish, kept his season-long top 20 streak intact. And before Chicago, Elliott was on a heater. Finishes a 5th, 3rd, 1st, 3 weeks in a row. He has taken huge bites out of William Byron's points lead in recent weeks. He's only 13 points back. That pays huge playoff points at the end of the regular season. Chase Elliott could win Sonoma, great road racer. He's still in the number 1 spot. Let me know down in the comment section below if I missed anyone, if you think I ranked someone too high, too low, am I selling anybody too short? Let me know down in the comment section below. This may be the most wild top 10 I have ranked in the history of doing these power rankings. Again, that's what happens when you give me Atlanta and then 2 road courses back to back to back in the middle of the summer. It's gonna jumble things up quite a bit. But that is gonna do it for today, folks. Leave a like on this video if you enjoyed. Subscribe for more NASCAR talk every single day, all year long. Always have a blast getting you from one Sunday to the next. And a big thank you to my very generous Patreon supporters as well. I'll see you again real soon. Take care. Have a great rest of your Monday, folks. Great start to your week.